Alright, so we'll get this one out of the way right off the bat as well. Do you plan to make a YouTube video with Logan Paul again, or do you talk to Logan Paul? What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brendan North. If you don't know me already, I am a photographer based in Los Angeles, and as a photographer, Instagram is my main platform. So if you want to go check out my photos, it's at Brendan North on Instagram, and let me know what you think of my images in the comments. So today I am going to be doing a Q&A, a question and answer session. I collected a lot of questions from you guys, a lot of amazing questions from you guys on Instagram, and I'm going to answer them for you right here, right now. But before we get into it, I want to say that this video is sponsored by my friends over at Skillshare. Skillshare is an online platform that has been incredibly valuable to me as a photographer. It has thousands and thousands of classes that teach you pretty much everything you need to know to become a better photographer. It'll teach you from the basics to the business to the advanced stuff. And coming from somebody that did not go to school for photography or filmmaking or anything, Skillshare has been an incredibly helpful tool in my learning process. So I'm partnering with Skillshare to get you guys 2 free months of their classes.
So I know a lot of you are beginner photographers trying to master the craft and hone your skills, and I found this particular tutorial interesting because it gives you the fundamental skills that you need in DSLR photography to become better. And because this video is sponsored by Skillshare, if you click the link in the description, you'll get 2 free months.
You can take as many classes as you want within those 2 months, and then if you want, you can cancel it. But I guarantee you that you'll find a ton of value in these videos. The link is in the description. Use that link and you'll get those 2 free months. Alright, so getting into this video, I'm gonna start it off with the most asked question in every single video that I've ever done and every single comment I've ever gotten on Instagram. What camera do I use? And I'm not gonna go into super long details about this. I use a Sony a6500 for a majority of my work. A lot of the images that you see are coming out of that camera. It is not a full frame camera. A lot of people are always surprised when I say that. It's an APS-C crop, and to be honest, for most of my career, I've found very little use for a full frame camera. It's just never made a difference in my work. You can shoot a photo on a $1,200 setup that looks better than somebody shooting on an $8,000 setup. It really is who's taking the photo, what the vision is, what kind of creative style you have. A lot of people with the most expensive setups have the least vision, and that's truly the most important part. I have recently picked up a medium format Hasselblad film camera. That thing is beautiful. When you're talking about the difference between my Sony a6500 and this Hasselblad, you really can't compare it. They live in 2 completely different worlds. But to answer the question, the real answer is that Sony a6500 for all of you asking. Okay, so we have a lot of good questions right here. I have them on my phone. I think this one is a cool one to start with. We have, what would you do different if you had to start all over? And I think that the path I've taken is one that I'm pretty happy with. I moved to LA to become a photographer, and at the time I was insanely interested in the YouTube world, and I really took that direction. I went the influencer route, and I think it turned out pretty well for me. I made a lot of incredible friends, I met a lot of incredible people, and that path that I took led me to where I am today, and I've been able to transition away from the influencer world into the art world. And I don't think I would really do anything different except this one thing. I have a friend named Atticus Poetry, and he has always remained completely anonymous. Nobody really knows who he is, and I think that is an incredibly powerful thing as an artist, because then it allows people to judge your work without knowing who you are. All they really have to base their opinion on is your work and your work alone. And I think I would honestly go back and wear a mask the whole time. I would never show my face, and I would go completely anonymous because I really want my work to be able to speak for itself. And as the public figure that I've become through that influencer route, I think I would change a little bit of that. All right, so we'll get this one out of the way right off the bat as well. Do you plan to make a YouTube video with Logan Paul again, or do you talk to Logan Paul? A lot of you guys always ask me this in the DMs, wondering if I'm still connected to him or if I'm still friends with him, and the answer is yes. I talk to him a decent amount. We text back and forth. We see each other occasionally. We're always at the same events, parties, whatever it might be, but yes, we are still connected, and we have talked about me going on Impulsive. Who knows when that's gonna happen? They have a ton of guests lined up, so it'll happen when it happens. But yes, Logan and I are still friends. So here we have a good one. Would you say you're more of a photographer or a videographer? And for me, I feel like it's obvious that it's not even close. I am 100% a photographer. Making videos is something that I did for a while back in the YouTube days, but I honestly barely know how to make a video. I know you probably think, oh, but like all those videos that you made with Logan, I didn't edit a single one of those. I barely know how to edit my own videos. That's why all of these are so rough cut. I mean, the secret's out. I'm not spoiling anything. You guys all know who Hayden is at this point. But yeah, my passion lies 100% with still photography, still images. I think that a still image, if you're able to do it correctly, can be as powerful or even more powerful than an entire video. Okay, so this is another one that I receive a lot. It pretty much comes to me every time that I release a creative image or a new series. People ask me, where do you find your inspirations for photos? And my answer is always a combination of daily life experiences, what I see as I just go through my life, what I see in the news, what I see on social media, what I see in books and movies are a heavy impact on my images. A combination of all of those things, even causes that I find myself fighting for. A lot of my work can take sort of an activist note. I've done plastic series on our use and addiction of single-use plastics. I love being able to make sort of a social commentary with my images. So a lot of that sort of feeds into the inspiration that I find myself turning into my photos. And I think honestly, one more thing that inspires a lot of my photos is the city that I live in. LA is an eclectic place. It has so much going on, so many different people, so many different social structures that I love commenting on. So Los Angeles is a big inspiration to me as well. Okay, so this is one that I've wanted to answer in its own video, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do it right now quickly. I have a rose tattoo. Let's see if we can get this to... So I have a rose tattoo right there on my finger, and a lot of you have seen that before. Some of you didn't know that I had it. It's a little tattoo, but it is very, very meaningful. It has a basis in my obsession with the idea that beauty never lasts, right? Beauty is fleeting, and the rose is a perfect personification of that idea. It's beautiful for a moment and it's not the next. And that feeds into my passion for photography, because every time I use this finger to press the shutter on my camera, I'm holding something beautiful still forever. That's the power of photography. You can freeze time. You can hold beautiful things still the way they are for all of time. And I think that's my superpower. So this rose is a symbol of that power that photography has. Another origins question: what made you become a photographer, and what age did you start? So I didn't know that I liked photography or art or anything like that for most of my childhood life. I mean, I guess I was always sort of creative, but sports definitely dominated what I wanted to do with my life. I was a soccer player, and that was by far the biggest passion in my life. But as I got to college, I was sort of introduced to new people, new worlds, new cultures. I got out of the bubble that was my hometown, and I started to break out of my shell. And part of that was with the invention of Instagram. I joined in 2012, I believe. which was my freshman year of college. So the idea of taking photos was introduced to me, even if it was just on an iPhone 5. It became part of my life. And I went to school in Washington, D.C., which if you haven't been, it's actually an incredibly photogenic city. All of the monuments provided subjects for my first photos. I took a lot of iPhone photos of the monuments during the day, at night. They're all lit up and very beautiful. As I started getting more confident, I borrowed my roommate's camera. I started taking photos of random people on the street, telling them that I ran a blog that I did not. I just wanted an excuse to be able to take strangers' photographs. And it was practice. It was honestly me trying to create stories. I would ask them questions and sort of do a whole Humans of New York vibe, where I would tell their story underneath their photograph on my Instagram that at the time about 300 of my friends followed. So those are the origins. And I think I consider my start in photography, like really my start in photography, to be about at the age of 22. So I'm 25 right now, so that would put it about 3 years ago, right before I moved to California. All of the other stuff that I did in college, I was still 100% focused on my studies. I was studying international affairs and environmental science at school, and that took up 99% of my time. Photography was this long shot. You know, it was something that I never actually saw myself going for. And then I said, why not? And moved to Los Angeles to pursue it and really give it a shot. And I think that's really when I started photography. Okay, so this is something that I deal with almost every single day. When you feel non-creative or out of it, what do you do? So, I go through, along with every single other artist on the planet, creative ruts, creative slumps. I made a whole video about it called What's Wrong With Me. You guys can watch it. It goes into detail of my struggles with getting out of these creative slumps. And I think the answer that I've found most effective is that you just need to start shooting again. It doesn't have to be the most brilliant idea. It can just be something, anything that gets the camera back in your hands and photos on your screen to edit, just to get that creative flow going. And while I find my passion to be strongly with those more contemplative, really unique creative images, I realize that sometimes you can't do that. And in order to keep the creative flow going, you have to keep taking photos. And eventually that next really beautiful creative one will come to you. This one's great. So they said, I think black and white photos bring a lot of emotion to the picture. What do you think? And if you've been following me on Instagram, you know that I have an obsession with black and white images. A lot of my photos end up in black and white. I shoot a lot of them in RAW, in black and white. I've shot black and white film before, where you don't even have the option to go back to color. It's just more emotional. It really is. It takes the color out of the equation and allows you to focus on what the image really is of. And I think that goes into a lot of other questions that I received. One of them on here that I remember was, if I had the chance, would I shoot with Halsey or any other celebrity? And the answer is always yes. I'd love to shoot with these people, but there's sort of a caveat to that. The answer is yes if they're willing to be a part of one of my images, where it doesn't matter that it's Halsey or this other celebrity. I don't care who's in my photo. The photo itself is the centerpiece. It's what the photo is of and not who's in it. And I think that has changed the way I look at photography completely on its head. I used to shoot every single influencer that exists. That's how I got the following that I have. But in the world that I'm in now, where I'm trying to create art pieces, fine art photography, it should matter much more that the photo itself is strong without the aid of some famous face in it, because then people might praise it just because of who's in it and not because it's an actually good photo. So that's two birds, one stone right there, two questions with one answer. Yep, there's the Halsey question right there. I knew it was there. A lot of you guys love asking me this one, favorite person to shoot with. And there really isn't an individual answer to that. I love anybody, and I'm so incredibly grateful and thankful to anybody that hears my ideas and says, yes, I want to create that with you. Because as I said, a lot of my images now are completely based on the strength of the photo and not about who's in it. And if somebody is willing to take on one of my projects with me, then I love them to death and they are my new favorite person to shoot with. This one's interesting. Would you ever consider selling prints of a self-portrait? There are self-portrait concepts that I have in my head that I think would make for interesting prints. I haven't made them yet, but I think I will. And yeah, if you want one, then they're going to be for sale. And this one sort of goes off of that as well. I'm a person who's afraid to take pictures of herself. Can you give me advice to not be afraid? And I'm with you. I hate taking photos of myself. I love being behind the camera. I'm much more comfortable looking through the lens at somebody else than being in front of the lens. And honestly, the way I've gotten over it is just doing it myself and not letting another person be on the other side of the lens. I love taking my own photos now because it allows me to practice with lighting and flashes and different camera techniques on my own so I can adapt them into my photography style. I can be my own subject for the time being, and sometimes I like the photos that I take. And yeah, honestly, I think just sitting in front of your camera can be a huge confidence boost. Just one at a time. Nobody ever has to see them if you don't like them. Keep them to yourself and keep improving. Okay, and we'll wrap it up with this one. What made you decide to shoot series versus individual photos? So again, on Instagram, I release a lot of series of photos. They're sort of sets that all coalesce into one idea. And those almost always start with one image. So it is individual photos, but then I sort of extrapolate on the idea and it turns into a series. You can sort of expand on one notion and turn it into, oh, what if that idea sort of turned into this and then this and then this? And what if I applied it to this aspect? So they sort of turn into series on their own. Sometimes they're born as series, sometimes they start as individual images, but I think expanding individual photos into series allows them to sort of speak more. It allows you to really get a grasp of what the artist is trying to say with that one image, but maybe it needs a second, a third, a 10th image to really get the idea across. And that is it for this video. Thank you all so much for submitting those questions. This was a fun video to make. I hope I was able to answer a lot of your questions about me and my career and photography in general. And if you're interested in editing your photos like me, I do sell my presets. They are in a link below. I have prints available in the link below as well. And as always, guys, I want you to remember to work hard, dream big, and trust your direction in life. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Cause aside from my soul,